Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on the Tom737 Flyer channel. Today we are in the Just Flight Freeware Cessna 152. Probably never heard of this model, that's because it's a very old model, released around 2008. I have to say that it's pretty payware looking to be freeware. In fact, it is one of the best freeware aircraft that I do recommend to this day to add to your virtual flight simulator fleet. So you probably read by the title that I'm testing out my, well, not new, but my old CH Products Flight Sim Yoke, which I bought a couple of years ago, but unfortunately it broke, and it was only recently that I managed to fix it once and for all, just on my own. I've also got a pair of rudder pedals, always by CH Products. This is the setup that I use now, as you can see. So we're flying around Inverness Airport, that small airport that you probably just could have seen for a glimpse, was the Inverness Airport in Scotland. So this is the good point where I can actually start to talk about also what I can safely say that is my now permanent setup of equipment. I use some freeware textures for Europe, freeware ground textures. They are the Adam Mills textures. I'll make a video about that. I'm using Payware Rex Clouds, part of the Rexport Texture Direct with soft clouds. I don't really use the Texture Directs. I also use the water textures, but I don't use the airport textures. I use the HD Airport Graphics add-on by Zinatech, which can be bought on the Steam store for just about a little over £10. So as you can see here, we're just starting to fly our little approach into Inverness. I'm not quite sure what runway we're aligning up, but we've just gone with our first notch of flaps. So I'm just using some very, very small adjustments on the yoke. The yoke is actually a pretty good performing yoke. I use it to fly most of the planes that I use in my virtual fleet, because those planes happen to have a yoke even in real life. I'm a bit of a Boeing boy, so I don't really use any other planes apart from Boeing. I do use most of the time also the Aerosoft Airbus. It's a good point. It's a good excuse for me to use my Thrustmaster T-Flight Hotus. You know, in an Airbus you would have a side stick, so it's a little bit pointless for realisticity purposes. It's just a good practice to use, in my view, in this case, a joystick with a plane which has a side stick, for example. So you would have it on the Airbus A220, Bombardier C Series, Airbus, Falcon 7, those sort of planes anyway. So it's only at this point that I am actually starting to make out that there are actually some trees at the beginning of the runway. So, that happens to be a bit of an issue when you fly with default airports most of the time. I don't really have that many add-on airports, but I have only got some freeware airports. I don't have any payware scenery. I've only got freeware because I'm a big supporter of freeware. I do use many freeware products. Obviously I try to select the best ones, all of the Thomas Ruth planes and all of those, kind of products, which are really good. If you were to compare the Thomas Ruth A300, for example, which is one of my favorite planes to fly, I'm a big A300 fan, you would compare it with the Simcheck A300. That is just about as realistic as it can get. So we're closing here about 70 knots as a final approach speed. This yoke that I've got has also got a mixture and a propeller lever, those propeller controls. I'll explain a bit more what they do on the ground. let's just watch this landing. So just skipping some trees, really trying to avoid them as much as possible. So coming down here on the runway, I've still got my thrust to about 20%. I'm gonna go idle now, and we're down. That was actually a pretty nice touchdown. I'm pretty proud of myself. So I was saying that the joystick has got 3 handles in total. One's the throttle, one's the mixture, and the one in the middle is the propeller control. Now, because I fly aircraft which have two engines most of the time, and I fly airlines most of the time, there's not much point in me having a fuel control lever, in a propeller control lever. What I did is I assigned both of those levers, so the mixture and the propeller control, to mixture control for engine 1 and 2, so if something goes wrong you can just cut the mixture for the interested engine. So what we're doing now is we're just I don't really bother with backtracking, as there's not much exit space available on this runway. In fact, there aren't any turnaround turn off taxiways. So here I am, just taxiing at the end of the runway. So what I did is here I full throttled and I kept the plane full nose down and just gave it a quick blast that would make us travel quickly from one end of the runway to the other. I thought it was a nice sort of idea. I did apply some brakes, which the roller pedals have a really nice perfect rendition of. So here, just avoiding the grass. So that's it, just taxied off the probably inactive runway, I think runway 11 at Inverness Airport. Notice the lack of traffic. Well, even though I use, what is it that I use? I use, what's that freeware? I use FSX freeware AI package of traffic. You can install individual companies. I really like it because it somewhat models what really the traffic is at that moment. The site has never been updated. In fact, the British Airways, for example, fleet has still got this Boeing 737-400, 767s and 757s and 747s, even though 747s are sadly being retired. So the fleets are made up of sort of oldish aircraft. Alitalia still got MD-80s and all of those planes, which I happen to fly virtually on FSX. Okay, so we've just stopped here, put the parking brake on, just turning off all of the lights here, and the the mixture got completely leaned out by the control on the joystick. Here, just opening the window, not the door, and just checking here a couple of instruments, and that's it. Battery and avionics off. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I hope to see you very soon in another video.